Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Of course, you can get Locked On Sports everywhere you get your podcasts, available for free on YouTube. Just search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Got a lot to do here today in this initial episode, this initial voyage here of A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Again, thank you so much for choosing Locked On Sports and being part of this new venture that we have going here. I'm so excited to be doing this 5 days a week. Once again, every day you'll get A to Z in podcast form on YouTube, everywhere you get your podcasts. And I really want you guys to be part of this show. So please give me all your feedback on social media. Let me know what you like, what you hate, what you want to hear more of. I'm absolutely here to interact with all of you guys and let me know your thoughts on the pod each and every day. This segment of A to Z is brought to you by our good friends at Built Bar. You know, this is the time of year that a lot of people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions, but you know, there's a way to stick to it and eat right. And that's thanks to Built Bar, because it's not really like a resolution. These are protein bars you're absolutely going to love. And have you even tried their Puffs yet? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. And Puffs are a fan favorite of mine. They have some incredible flavors like yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. It's so good, guys. These are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, that's 100% real chocolate. Low-cal, high protein. Replace these bars with your candy bars. These are things that I use to help meal supplement my diet. You guys know I'm big into working out and staying in shape. So go to BuiltBar.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein again, low-cal, high fiber, low carb, all the things you want to eat healthy and stay in great shape. Mint brownie, coconut almond, all these new flavors. And new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. Delicious, guys. At Built Bar, they're all about taste. They make it delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they pull it off, but they do. Again, go to BuiltBar.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. Again, Built.com, promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order at Built.com. All right. The Atlanta Hawks, for a season that has been filled with so much up and down, for a season that has been so, I don't want to say it's disappointing. It's been underwhelming. It hasn't been disappointing. They've dealt with a rash of injuries. They've had some player turnover. They've had a whole bunch of things go on that weren't really expected and what you really wanted out of this team. But after an Eastern Conference Finals appearance last year, you thought that they were going to ascend to one of the 5 or 4 best teams in the conference. And what happened? This offseason, everybody in the East got great. The East is clearly the power conference of the two right now. You have 5 teams at the top of this conference that all have a legitimate case to say why they would win the East, if not the NBA title. And oh, by the way, that doesn't include the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently still in the play-in tournament. And speaking of which, as we sit here on April 1st, you have a 3-way tie in the play-in tournament between Charlotte, Brooklyn, and Atlanta, all at 40 and 37. And this is going to be huge down the stretch here. And the Hawks have a huge game coming up against Brooklyn tomorrow night. One that we'll handicap here once I can get a line from betonline.net. But so this is a Hawks team that is getting right at exactly the right time. And they're doing it with their best player. Trae Young, over his last 10 games, is averaging 30 points and 11 assists. He's put this team on his back while John Collins has been hurt. This is a team now, over the last 10 games, again, without John Collins. And if you've been paying attention closer to the Hawks this year, you have seen this offense look dramatically different without John Collins, right? It just looks different. It just plays different. And it is a situation where I think this offense is lesser without John Collins. However, the last 10 games, they've averaged just under 120 points per game. Excuse me. I couldn't even get it out. That's how impressive it is. 120 points per game over their last 10 games, and all that being paced by Trae Young. Now, here's the problem. In the big picture, as I mentioned, tied with Brooklyn, tied with Charlotte, okay, for 8, 9, and 10 in the play-in tournament. Now, technically, any of those 3 teams, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Atlanta, could catch the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everybody's got 5 games left to play. They're only 2 games out from the 7th seed. So it's all up for grabs in the play-in tournament. And yes, the seeding absolutely matters. Here is what you don't want if you're the Hawks. One, you do everything you can to avoid playing Brooklyn in the play-in tournament. Why? Because, again, as I mentioned, the 5 teams that are at the top of the Eastern Conference, Miami, Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago's kind of fading. I think Toronto's actually coming on. But let's just say for the 4, Miami, Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, all of a legitimate case to say that they could win the East and win the NBA title. And that doesn't include the Brooklyn Nets, who now have Kyrie Irving for every single game because of the vaccine mandate that was sort of lifted in New York for entertainers, whatever it is. We don't need to get into it. But so you have those 4 teams. If you play Brooklyn in a 1-game playoff just to move forward, if you lost, nobody would – I don't think Hawks fans could be upset because you're playing arguably what may be the 2 best players or 2 of the 6 best players in the NBA when healthy in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And, of course, they've rounded out that roster after the trade deadline. They get Seth Curry, Andre Drummond. Is Ben Simmons coming back? Who knows? But, again, on its surface, that roster, if you lost to them, no one is really going to blame you. What you're going to be blamed for is being in that situation in the first place because you should have been better than one of the bottom 4 teams out of 10 in the Eastern Conference. So you get disappointment there. If you play anybody else in the play-in, whether it's Cleveland or Charlotte, and you lose, it's supreme disappointment because you should be better than those teams. And you're certainly better offensively than Cleveland. And you may be better a little bit defensively than Charlotte, but Charlotte's got an amazing offense and can score the hell out of the basketball. But that's another disappointment. But the bar for the Hawks is to get out of the play-in tournament and get out of the first round. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to – if you're the 7-8 seed, okay, one of those 2 seeds, and you win that, and you get Milwaukee in the first round, dear Lord. Right now, Milwaukee currently sits in the 2 seed. Like, the Hawks need some help here. Because if Milwaukee is the 1 seed, I want no part of them. Imagine being 9-10 with Brooklyn and then having to go face the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks. You got no shot. You're done. Dunzos. You might not even get out of the play-in. And if by chance you do, you're not beating Milwaukee. That's the position the Hawks have put themselves in. I'm not sure that there's a way out of this for them to look at this season as mildly successful, unless, of course, they get out of the first round. They got to get out of the play-in tournament, got to get out of the first round, and they're going to need some luck to do it. They're going to need some things to fall their way. They're going to need some seeding positions to work in their favor, and they got to play really good basketball. Their best basketball this season, which they're doing right now. And I'm telling you, if that line against Brooklyn, and my guess is Brooklyn's going to be favored by 2.5 to 3.5, 2.5, 3, 3.5. That's what Brooklyn will be favored by. If you give me more than that, if you get me 4 or 5, I'm going to take the Hawks with the points. But my guess is around 3, 3.5 is what Brooklyn will be favored by. You know, that's a measuring stick game for the Hawks. You could be seeing them a week later in the play-in tournament. And you don't have John Collins for it. And John Collins matters defensively more than anything because he's that much of a stalwart. And it's not exactly like you could check KD with John Collins, but it's certainly going to help. It'll certainly help. So, look, there is a lot on the line for the Hawks here. Again, I think this is a team that needs to go out, get out of the play-in tournament, and try to win a first-round series, if not make it respectable against a really good team. You get gentlemen swept against Milwaukee. You get gentlemen swept against Miami or Boston. Fans got a right to be upset. It should have been better. They should have been better. They should have not been in the play-in tournament. To argue what they did last year, to not be one of the top 6 teams in the East, given what else is there to finish worse than Cleveland, to finish worse than Toronto, certainly as would be classified as a disappointment for this team. So they got a lot to do. All right, coming up next, our old favorite segment, Shovels of Wisdom. We'll hand out some of those. I'll look at some games coming up in the NBA for tonight for you guys to wager on, and we'll wrap things up here on this inaugural edition of A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Again, free on YouTube. So wherever you get your podcast, search for Locked On Sports Atlanta. Back with more right here on A to Z.